Hey guys, in this video I want to talk about what you can do to get a higher SAT score. Because I was looking on YouTube and I saw there wasn't that much helpful info on studying for the SAT, so I wanted to provide that here. So, just real quick, I'll go into my story. So, when I was in high school, I was a junior in high school, I was pretty lazy with stuff that I thought didn't matter. And I thought the SAT wouldn't really matter when it came to getting into college. I didn't even do my research. God, I was so dumb then. Anyway, I didn't really study for the exam until a month before it was scheduled. And a month before it was scheduled, I was like, why don't I take a practice test? So I took a practice test and I got a 1340. And I was like, oh shit. So 1340 was not good enough for the schools that I wanted to get into, right? I was planning on applying to University of Pennsylvania, early decision, and 1340 is not good enough for University of Pennsylvania. So I was like, oh, like shit, like what am I gonna do? I was looking at, is this gonna matter? So I looked up, how much does SAT score matter? And it's like, oh yeah, it matters. It really matters. Like, you need something stellar on your CV if you have a 1340. Like, you need to be some sort of, I don't know, athlete or a stellar musician or like something crazy, right? Maybe you have your name on a published paper or something like that. But if not, then yeah, you want to be in the top quartile. And I think for UPenn at the time, that was like 15, 20 or something like that. So I was in trouble and I had a month left. And I was like, well, what can I do to study? Over the next month, I studied 20 hours for the SAT, 20 hours total. And then at the end of it, I took a practice exam and I scored a 1510 on it. So I was like, oh, okay. I'm feeling really good now. Like this might be okay. I could work with this. This is good. If I could just score this on the actual exam. So I was feeling pretty confident on the day of. I got a good night's sleep, and then I took the exam and I felt pretty good about it. But you don't know your score until like a month later. So after waiting weeks, I finally saw my score appear on College Board. I'd gotten a 1550, and I was ecstatic because that was plenty good enough to get into the schools I wanted to go to. I still got rejected from UPenn for other reasons. I don't know. Maybe they didn't like my essay, maybe other stuff. But it wasn't my SAT that held me back. So I increased my score 170 points with 20 hours of studying. And you might be asking, well, what did I do to study? I'm going to get into that right now. So, first off, I did already know basic geometry and, high school math that you needed to know for the SAT. We were taught that in class. Hopefully, you were taught it in class as well. If not, that's something you're just going to have to learn. You're going to have to learn the topics on the SAT. I think you already knew that. So, it helped that I knew high school level math and grammar rules. So, what I did first, as you know from my story, is I took the practice test just to see where I was. And that was my oh shit moment. That's when I really started studying after that. So, after I took the practice test, I went back over and looked at every single question I got wrong on that test. Thought through it. What did I get wrong? Why did I get it wrong? And I made sure I understood the question and understood why I got it wrong. Then I continued practicing. So I continued practicing on Khan Academy. There are many resources you could use, right? You could use an SAT practice book, you could use other things like that. I just used Khan Academy because it was convenient, I didn't have to pay for it or anything like that. And it was really helpful. I recommend Khan Academy for studying for the SAT. Now, I studied on Khan Academy in a particular way. Yes, I followed their sort of course that was on there, but I hindered myself a little bit. So, first off, I gave myself less time than they gave me, right? If they had like a timed little mini practice test and they gave me 20 minutes, I gave myself 15. What that did was that forced me to read faster and faster on the verbal part and the grammar part. It forced me to solve problems faster on the math part. It was really painful while I was studying, but when I got to the actual exam, I felt like I could kind of relax. I could read a little bit slower and take a little bit more time to solve stuff. So it really did help with the time management portion, because if you can take the SAT in less time than they give you, you can certainly take it in the amount of time that they give you. Make sense? Okay. So I did other things as well. I never used help while studying. Whether I was answering a practice problem or whether I was taking a full practice exam, I never used help. When I saw a question that stumped me, I never looked it up or anything like that. No, I gave my best guess and I moved on. And after that, if I got it wrong, I reviewed it. And I found that this method really made it stick in my head better. Because, when you just look something up, you might be like, oh, okay, I didn't know this one, so I'll look it up. Oh, okay, I knew that. Okay, next question. And you might forget about it. But if you guess and you get it wrong and you go back to it, you're going to remember it a lot better. Trust me. The last tip I want to emphasize here is that the most efficient way to study for the SAT is really to just do tons and tons and tons of practice problems. I was able to study pretty efficiently, I would say, since I spent only 20 hours, including the first and last practice tests that I took. So, of actual practice, I maybe got 16 or 14 hours. But the most efficient way to study for the SAT is to just do the practice problems. Just do more and more practice problems over and over again. Go to previous years and do practice problems and just keep doing them. Eventually, you'll find that a lot of the problems are similar. You'll start to notice patterns and you'll get better at solving those particular questions. You can actually do pretty well on a test, even if you don't know the material, if you just take practice tests and you start to recognize patterns in the questions. You can do well on a test that way, believe it or not. And the last bonus tip that I want to add to this video is don't wait till a month before to study. Please, don't do what I did. I only had 20 hours to study. Imagine if I had had 40 or 60 or 80. Hours studied is always important. You can't fake that. You can't hide it. You can't fudge it. And if getting into a good college or even getting scholarship money for a college is important, college is expensive nowadays, and scoring better on the SAT is going to help you get money. I got a full ride to a state school, and I can't help but think that it was partly because of my SAT score. So those are the tips that I have for studying for the SAT. I hope they were helpful, and let me know if you have any other questions in the comments. But yeah, best of luck on that exam.